My name is Kyle Rudolph. We are in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I play for the Minnesota Vikings. The tight end position is a very unique one in the fact that, my job description is that of an offensive lineman who could be, 310, 330 pounds. It's also the job description of a wide receiver who is much faster than I am, a lot smaller than I am. So trying to find that middle ground of being strong enough to block defensive linemen, but being fast enough and being agile enough to get open against linebackers and DBs. So it's what makes playing tight end so fun. It's a position that's really evolved over the last 20 years. Strength is obviously something that I've had to build throughout my career. And going into my 10th season in the NFL, I wouldn't be to this point without strength. And each offseason is when you're trying to build that strength. It's really hard to continue to build strength during the season. Just the physical toll that we take week in and week out. It's more about recovery in season than building strength. So, right now there's no better time than February to try to start building strength again. For me right now, at this point in the off season, my strength training comes in a couple different ways. I work out, I train at the facility in the weight room 4 days a week. One of the things that's oftentimes overlooked in the strength training and in the weight room is the armor that you build. It's great to have functional strength, and it's great to transition things that you do in the weight room out to the field, and that's obviously a huge part of our game. But at the same time, like I said, we play a very violent game with a lot of collisions, and you have to build up a coat of armor, if you will, and that's built in the weight room through strength training. I started strength training when I was a freshman in high school. Like 14 years old was the first time I really started strength training, and it was always about getting bigger and stronger. And at this point in my career, at this point in my life, that's not always the case. Obviously it's great to get stronger, but it's the functionality aspect. The days of trying to put 500 pounds on your back and squat for one rep, or throwing 400 pounds on the bench and trying to get it for one rep. Those days are well past, and now it's much more about functional strength and how can I get my body strong but durable as well. You put yourself in some compromising situations throughout the course of a game, throughout the course of a season, and if you're all balled up and tight, that's where you get soft tissue injuries. So it's about being strong, and it's also about being functional as well. Oftentimes as a young player, you're like, I'm going to train as hard as I can every day. That's the only way I'm going to get better. And you kind of start to fizzle out. When you're young, you feel like you can just do whatever you want. You can eat whatever you want. You can drink whatever you want. You don't need to get as much sleep as you may think. And one of the things I've found a lot of success in is scaling the intensity. And I think for me as an older guy, oftentimes you see throughout our careers, as you get older, you get into your 30s, you lose that pop that you had as a young 20-year-old. And this style of strength training, I think, has allowed me to kind of restore some of the pop that I had as a younger player. I started working with a nutritionist when I was 16 years old, and I was always on top of my diet, my nutrition, my supplementation. But at the same time, you feel like, well, I'm young, like it's not that big of a deal. And now at 30, you work so much harder than you did when you were younger, but you also see the results. Like I said, I feel better now at this point in my career because of so many things I've learned, the adversity that I went through early in my career, the injuries that I dealt with, and it makes me look back to if I would have just started this when I was 18, when I was 20, incorporating all the things that I do on a daily basis now, how would my career have gone? For me, that's the only thing I really look back on and say, well, I wonder what would my career have been like had I started this at 20 instead of 25. We put so much work in outside of the lines that goes unnoticed, and if you lose sight of it, you can really set yourself back and not giving yourself the foundation, the opportunity to have success in the fall. I think there's so much more that I can do and bring to our team and to our organization, but at this point in my career to look back and regret any decision would be hard to do.